being transparent with yourself about your trauma, your triggers, and who you are. And even the parts that you deem ugly, I had to learn that those are the most valuable parts of me. The parts about me that I don't like, that's what God uses the most.
Welcome back to Talking with Tiffany. I am super excited about today's show and today's guest. Today's show, we are talking about the power of self-soothing, and who not better to talk to this and have this conversation is songwriter, singer. She's a mom, a wife, an amazing songstress. Like, she is dope. My beautiful, and I just happen to be lucky because I'm related to her. So like, this is special. But the beautiful Gina A. So let's welcome Gina A.
Thank you, Tiffany. That was so sweet. Love it. I love you
Yes,
too.
I love you. You're amazing. And
You are too.
thank you. And you know, it's
Mhm.
so funny because this morning, I don't know if you know this, but you are on my worship list for
Nice.
my playlist. And so this morning,
Okay.
Whistle in the Wind is like number 4 on the list out of like 50 something songs or something.
You do like that song.
I do
That's not
love
one of
that.
my favorites. I know you like it
I love that song. And I'm just jamming away, because it really speaks to what's going on sometimes when you're in the midst of something and what
Mm,
you need to be able to hear when you need to quiet down.
yes.
But before we jump into that,
Yes.
let's tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do.
Sure. Sure. I don't like talking about me, but we're going to do this. I like to sing. I am called to sing. I believe that's one of the many things that God has called me to do is express my gratitude, my learnings, my growth, my relationship with Him through music. Music was something that I connected to at, I would say, age 4. I started writing, started singing, started to get to know God very early. And so, yes, so singing's a big part of me. As of recently, I will say mastering being a mom, a wife, becoming more integrated in my home now that I'm taking some time from corporate America to really like get my bearings and to recenter myself. So that's something that I've been enjoying actually. I've been enjoying being home and being a mom and really listening for God on the next moves that I make for my family and with my husband and my kids. So that's the other part of me. And I'm a learner. I am a life learner. That is a title. And then finally, I am a daughter of God. I am his child. I am his daughter. That is my father, and I acknowledge him as that.
I love that.
Thank you.
You're so amazing. So we'll hop right in because really it
Sure.
gets into talking what you just talked about. So when I was coming up with the title, I was like, self-soothing, what
Mhm.
happens when you're able to do that? And so the definition of self-soothing is soothing helps reset body systems after an acute stress response or regain homeostasis. And so
Mhm.
I think what people have to understand, I know that definition has some words that you're like, what is that? And what is that? But
Mhm.
when the body or when the mind or when yourself, if you're going through something, right?
Mhm.
You're anxious, you're fearful, you're tired, or
Mhm.
whatever, you need
Mhm.
something that would help you soothe. And so I remember when I messaged you and actually called you and asked you like, this is the topic, this is what I want to talk about, and you told me a story that I did not know
Mm.
about. You've been doing this all your life and how it
Mhm.
began. And so
Mhm.
what is self-soothing to you for that?
For me, before I can get to the stages of soothing, I had to get acclimated with my trauma. I had to understand what was happening to me because your body has memory in it. And sometimes you can respond, your body has a response and it's outside of your control. It just remembers. And so you can be in environments and it triggers. And so I had to really understand myself and my triggers and my trauma and what am I carrying? What is inside of me that I'm carrying before I got to self-soothing? Now that I know what it is, now I can soothe it. And now I can speak to it. I can sing about it. I can talk about it. I can read scriptures on it. I can pray about it, right? I can address it. I can go into that secret place with God and say, hey, this is what's happening to me. And I need your help. And so the first thing is really understanding yourself, spending time with self, and being okay with going deeper intimately within yourself, and being transparent with yourself about your trauma, your triggers, and who you are. And even the parts that you deem ugly, I had to learn that those are the most valuable parts of me. The parts about me that I don't like, that's what God uses the most. I have to
Yeah.
think about my ugly all the time. When I'm singing my songs, you want to get to know me, listen to my songs. I out myself a lot. And because somebody else needs to know how to get out. So your trauma isn't even for you. It's for somebody else. Your self-soothing resources, how God gives it to you, is for somebody else. Everything you do is so you can help somebody else. And that's one thing I always keep in mind when I'm stressed or when I'm going through something.
I love that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
we don't recognize that we condemn and we imprison trauma.
Yeah.
And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like we have this invisible jail cell inside self where
Mm-hmm.
you now lock up everything that was bad or that, like you said, that's ugly, that doesn't make you feel all woohoo,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because it
Mm-hmm.
serves a better purpose behind bars.
It does.
And
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
and then if you think about it, you're like the warden. And so
Mm,
you're constantly saying you get to make decisions if something gets released.
that's right.
And I think sometimes you have to recognize that you are not the warden, God is.
Like, come
You're
on.
really just the security guard. You're
Come
you're
on.
the correctional officer.
That's
And
right.
so it's not your job to imprison those things. It's your job to monitor them.
Mm,
And I think sometimes we get outside of that because we then take ownership and place ourselves in God's position instead of allowing God to be God. And so it's
mm-hmm,
like First Peter 5
mm-hmm,
and 7, like cast
mm-hmm,
all your anxieties onto
mm-hmm,
me. Not
mm-hmm,
it does not say bring them inside and hold them
mm-hmm,
tightly and hug them and
mm-hmm,
squeeze them.
mm-hmm,
It's saying
mm-hmm.
give all this stuff to me. And
That's right.
I think that is it pays
Mm-hmm,
homage also to stuff I've been through where I had to recognize like this trauma does not belong to me. It
that's right.
has happened to me. I've gotten
Mm-hmm,
to experience it.
mm-hmm,
But I think in that you recognize that your experience helps the knowledge and the wisdom that you get that God is trying to tell you. So then if you
mm-hmm,
actually lay it out and God's like, "Well, give it to me because then I
mm-hmm,
can tell you why it happened."
mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking, keeping in mind too, a couple things that you benefit from you being honest. He's the author of truth. So, you lying, it actually hurts you, it doesn't hurt him. And
Right.
so the benefit of being able to go deeper within yourself and your trauma and say it's there and exists is it frees you. So just
Yeah.
free yourself, right? And just to kind of go off of what you just said about not allowing God to be that warden or be that person that guide for us, right? That comes from not having a relationship. I'm not going to let anybody govern me I don't trust and I don't know. And so at the end of the day, you got to get to know him so you can relinquish power, and you can do it freely and know that he's got you. I didn't just get to this stage in my walk with God. This didn't happen overnight. I went through a lot of failures. I went through a lot of resentment, a lot of anger. And I get mad at him now.
Yeah.
I ask him questions now, like, what's going on here? I'm very transparent with the Father because that's how you're supposed to be. Just like your kids are transparent with you, put him in the parent seat. I'm transparent with him too. That's my dad. That's my
Yeah.
father. He's the author and finisher of my faith. He knows my ending. What better person to talk to, you
Right.
know? But it didn't get there for me overnight. It took a process. I will say 37 was when I started feeling beautiful.
Mm.
37 is when I got free from self-hatred. 37 is when I actually have been relinquishing all power to God. And then when I look back over my life, I'm like, but you were keeping me all this time, even when I was in this state. Look how
Right.
much you gave me in my ignorance. Look how much you love me in my ignorance. And now that I've awakened to really who you are, my ultimate parent, my father, right? It has changed me. Now I can love me because I see myself the way you do. Now I can forgive me because you forgive me. You have mercy on me. God's love is enlightenment. It gives you information. It comes with intel. It comes with wisdom, right? and it comes with purification. And I look, I'm only 39. That was 2 years ago. So, I mean, it's never too late to wake up and love yourself. I'm a testament. It's never too late to just wake up and admire the life that God has given you and be grateful.
You're absolutely right. It was me. I got into in my early 30s, but for me, it was a stretch. And then when I wrote this book, Sis Is It You, that was a reflection of who it's you, sis.
It's
Like
you.
it was about me. Like it says it on my shirt because it was me.
Yes.
And
Out
so it's not
yourself.
right. It's not anybody else's story. It's
Yes.
recognizing that
Mm-hmm.
you're connected to the problem. I just was telling somebody so funny. I was telling them that they were complaining about their spouse. And I told them that I had said to my daughter, she's now about to be 11. She was 5 at the time. And I was like, oh, your dad, he's the worst. And I was just saying all these things. And she said, you picked him. She said it twice. You picked him.
I love kids.
And I was
Keep you
like,
honest.
right. Sis, it's me. And like you said, it's just recognizing that it's not just you that has the problem, it's you that has the power.
Yes.
And so understanding that and recognizing that. So getting into my first question is, what has your experience been with self-soothing in your life now as an adult versus in your earlier years? Like,
I would say maturity, and I have life experience now. So the disconnect when I was younger with trying to self-soothe is I was trying to self-soothe without information. So I'm trying to calm my spirit, but I don't have the intel that connects with it so it can be permanent.
ooh.
So I can really get free from it and not think about it again, right? I've learned, so now I know how to move stress out my life permanently. As a matter of fact, I enjoy doing it. Oh, you're going to stress me out. Oh, I see. Oh, I got it. Got you. Let me go do some self-work and get you up out of here real quick. I enjoy doing self-work. I love doing the work on myself. But the difference is definitely maturity, my relationship with God, and my ability to connect my life experience and the word to the situation I'm going through to really get healed and move away from it. Before I couldn't do that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I like that you said that you had to have intel and knowledge.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of when God talks about in the Bible, it talks about if you see the devil and you spot him out, he will flee.
That's
and
right.
we don't recognize that the enemy sometimes is in me. And so it's like,
It's a hard truth. But I promise once you admit it, you'll be fine. On the other side of that is healing and growth and all kinds of goodies, right?
absolutely. I love that you said that because I think sometimes we, like you said it's ignorance, and ignorance is lack of knowledge. And I always talk about self-ignorance and lack of knowledge of oneself. You have relational ignorance, lack of knowledge of the relationship that you're in, right? And it's because you have all these formed ideas, yet they're not necessarily true thoughts and true facts. They are things that you've concocted and manipulated in your mind, right? And that's witchcraft, to be honest with you, because it's something that you are trying to create that's not of God's work. And so even with yourself, where you're just like, I remember coming into being a sexologist and it was like, I'm a sexologist and da 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 da. But yet anything that you become takes time. And I remember God shaking it up and tearing it apart and saying, yeah, that is what I've given you. This is not who you are.
Come on, that part. That part. That, I mean, imagine all the identity crises, like the different layers of that you probably had to go through to get to just this place.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, most definitely. And even separating yourself and then having to soothe yourself from that disappointment. You know what I'm saying? And like, okay, God, you told me da 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 da. And God's like, okay, first of all, like you said, before you can start to soothe, it's kind of like a baby, right?
Yeah.
Before a baby can cry, and first thing you try to do is put a
What's
pacifier,
wrong?
bottle.
Right.
She must be hungry. She must be wet, right?
Yeah.
And because a baby can't talk, which is sometimes
sometimes
because
it's
self
us.
can't talk.
Yes. Come on,
right?
fix that.
Yeah, you got to understand and know your child. And so that's what God is also reminding us. I know you're like a baby. So if you come to me and ask me,
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you. But if you're in someone else's hands, if
Mm-hmm.
you're in someone else's care,
Mm-hmm.
they may try to supplement or soothe you with something that's not going to be helpful in this moment, and you'll reject
Mm-hmm.
it.
That's true. And the benefit of using God as a resource, and I'm just gonna share my own testimony with that, is you can get results faster. I, I mean, if I would have known then what I know now, I'm like, oh my God, I wasted so much time. I could have just went to you in the first place and had this thing resolved. Sometimes God doesn't always talk and respond. Sometimes God's quiet on you, and that just means continue on. But in most cases, when I go to Him and I need answers, I get it. He's my friend on top of my Father. I can ask Him for things, and He gives it to me. And so I think that what we miss is, as human beings, is that He is real. Do you really believe He's real? Do you really acknowledge His existence? It's not just something that we learned at church
Right.
or a Bible that we were just given. There is a such thing as a real relationship with the Father. And that's the part that we need to tap into. He is real.
Right.
Okay. And we have access. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm a kingdom kid. I'm a brat too. And I go to Him and I start telling on everybody. I'm dry snitch for God. I know, and it be me half the time. It's always me though, right? I'm the one that gets in the hot seat telling on folks. And sometimes it's just mind your business.
Ooh. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just simple as that. You don't have peace in your life and you stressed out because you can't mind your business. You're a busybody.
Mm.
Gina, you worried about stuff that ain't got nothing to do with you. Cut the TV off. Get off social media and go and be with your children and make sure they're not watching something inappropriate. Be a mom, right?
Right.
I mean, it's
Oh,
the basic stuff that we just don't do. God's ways are simple. We complicate them. Nobody told you to watch that video. And now you're traumatized. And now you somewhere trying to plan for the end of the world. Don't you know that everything is designed and that we are believers and He's going to prepare us? We're walking around here in crisis because we don't spend time with the Father. And
you're
then
right.
when He tells us things, listen, because sometimes it's hardcore. It's
Yeah.
not sweet. It's real. Like mind your
Yeah.
business.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yes.
that
Yes.
I have a story. I remember somebody called me complaining about their parent, and the
Mhm.
story was valid. The story was so valid, and I knew it was true, right? So
Yeah.
I go to God and I'm like, God, why they gotta be
Mhm.
like that? Da, 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 da. And kid you not, He said, that's none of your business.
Exactly. That
And
part.
I was like, hello. He said, that has nothing to
To
do with
do with
you.
you.
And
Mm.
sometimes I think we get into also wanting to soothe other people.
Come on.
And so that's something, and he has to remind me, Tiffany, I did not create you to be a bottle or a pacifier. I created you to be a child of God, and
Mhm.
that you are supposed to use your gift and attract things. But I told you to collect the fish, I will sort them.
Mm.
You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? And I think
Mhm.
we get caught up in
Mhm.
that. It's like I can go preach something or go give a message, and I'm so worried if it hit one person when God's like, you don't even
Mm.
know who I meant the message before for,
You could
right?
even have to preach it just to yourself.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
okay too.
Yep,
It's just
absolutely.
for you. But
Uh-huh.
ultimately, if God didn't send you, you ain't soothing nothing. And that's the biggest thing about ministry. People have to understand, whether you sing, whether you preach, whether you teach, if the Lord did not send you into spaces, and I don't care if you are anointed, sometimes you can go and God will leave you and you grabbing your throat trying to figure out where's the note coming from, God. He's like, I didn't tell you to go there and sing. I didn't invite you there. You took yourself there. And I'm not going to go with you. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? So you have to make sure that even when you're trying to minister and you go into spaces, that's where you're supposed to be. And that comes back to relationship, because
Yeah,
you'll know it's Him and you'll know he called you to that space and that time, you know?
you're absolutely right. Um, so I'm gonna ask this next question, but I also want to attach a story because it's about you and it's funny.
Okay.
So it says, when did you recognize that you were allowing others to soothe you instead of reaching within yourself? And so I remember you calling me one
Mm.
day and telling me this story about
Mm-hmm.
something you had did. And you said when you got outside the building, you were like trying to catch your breath. And
Oh, you
I
can
am
tell the whole story if you want. That was funny. I think back on that and I laugh at myself all the time. I'm like, you were out of order. You would have had your butt there having panic attacks. God told you no. You gonna go anyway? I had a straight panic attack, a meltdown in front of my coworkers.
I actually, and I don't tell your name. I always tell the story, and I say, and what it really helps is that I tell him that you called me one day and you were telling me about you got this opportunity to take your dream job, and you're like, yes, and you said you prayed about it, and God was like, no, and you were like, well, I'm just still gonna do it because I feel like you're gonna meet me in there. And so you call me, you're telling me the story. And as you're telling me the story, you're talking about how you don't cry in front of people, but you're in there crying and acting just not
A
yourself. And I am
straight
cracking
mess.
up, and you are on the other line. And you keep asking me what the heck is so freaking funny. And I'm just cracking up, right? And I'm cracking up. And you're still telling the story. You're like, no. You said it like 3 times. What is so funny? And so you're cracking up. And so then you get to the end of the story and you're talking about I get out the building and I finally could catch my breath. Like I felt like I could breathe. And I am now by then, I tell people I am rolling. Like I am laughing so hard. And
Yeah,
I'm
you're
like,
horrible. You're
she
no
is
good.
heated. And she said, no, I really want you to tell me what the heck you're laughing at. And I said to her, God told you he wasn't going in there with you. You assumed.
I thought he would make an exception. I thought maybe I was hearing things. I was in denial, okay? But I learned. I embarrassed myself. They're probably still talking about me. I was crying. I had a meltdown. I was calling for my kids. That's all I want is my kids. All I want is my kids. I'm not supposed to be here. I don't know what happened. Something came over me. I was like, all the way home, it was like the drive of shame. I was just quiet. It was like the drive of shame. Like you knew better. You went up in there. Because sometimes you think because you have a relationship with him that you're gonna be able to pull the wool over God's eyes. You can't. He loves you, but he'll get you right.
He will. And that story was so funny because I tell it a lot and the reason why I tell it is because people talk about going places when God says I go ahead of you, right?
Come on.
But if God didn't go there, it's not covered. And so when you go ahead of him, you are now placing yourself in harm's way.
You really are.
And understanding like, and you thought, like the job was going to soothe you. Like, this is my dream job. I've been dreaming about this. I finally got it, and stuff. And so, and I recognize myself in that. I recognize being there in times where I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is going to help me. And then God's like, I didn't tell you to do that. And I'd be like, oh.
It's true. It's so true. And I'm traumatized from that situation because that wasn't too long ago. And now I'm always double checking. Like I'm always looking over my shoulder. God, are you sure? I mean, just make sure because don't get me out. I'm not gonna do it to myself again. Okay. That was a hard one. But I'm happy you can laugh at it. I can laugh at it now. Now it's funny. But at the time, I was confused.
It was like as soon as you started telling me the story, I was like, God, she's missing it. You were like, I don't know what was wrong with me, And I remember telling it to somebody during a really hard time. We had these people had just lost somebody really important to them, and I was telling the story, and I was like, and the lady said, "That's so crazy that happened to me." She said, I kept saying, God, I need your strength. I really need you to show up for me. And she said, she just kept saying all these things. And then she said, and in this moment, she gets this excruciating headache. And she like starts to like cripple and stuff. And she hears the Holy Spirit say, this is what it's like without me. Who do you think's been holding you up this
time? Jesus.
And I was like,
that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yes, I love that.
Yes. And I think it's just important to recognize like you do allow yourself to be soothed by other things and external things. And God is not necessarily always telling you that you can't do those certain things. He's just saying you cannot do them with me and you cannot replace them with me. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the show. Make sure you click the link below and pick up one of these Sis Is It You books. This book is some of the things that me and the ladies are talking about. It has a lot of helpful tools in this book. Don't get discouraged by the spine. It's not a journal, it's a book. It just allows you to flip it back and do things like this. So click the link below or tiffany.com, tiffynee.com, and pick this up. Sis Is It You or sisisyou.com. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Well, sometimes he knows the outcome. It's not good for you. That's not what I want you to do, period.
Right.
I know you're not going to succeed there and be who I have designed you to be. Because God always wants us to be acting, what's the word? The higher self.
Right.
To the best of our ability. Who we are, authentically, right? And so when some of these spaces are confining, they're restrictive.
Ooh.
They don't allow you to be who you're supposed to be. And over time, what I learned from that particular space, it was constrictive. I literally couldn't breathe. And it wasn't going to allow me to be who I was supposed to be. And that's why God was saying no.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. And then even just to tell a story about myself, you actually, and this actually involves you too. This is funny. The Holy Spirit just put this in my ear. I was so concerned about getting this book out there.
Mm.
And because nobody really talks about, if you're an author, once you write something, that the validation necessarily will come. You want the validation to come from man. When the whole story about that book was God gave me that book because I wrote that book in 3 days.
Come on.
And so God took a minute for God to like he was like, so I knew it was an amazing book. I was being told that by people, and God was also sustaining me to remind me of my value. But you'll sometimes take your value and then double it up and say, okay, now I need to be this full, and God's not asking for that. And so I remember wanting, right before I moved from home, I remember wanting to be in this church, these two churches. You remember the story?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like shunned, and like I felt a way, like, because in that moment, that was going to validate and soothe me. It was going to make me feel better about, like, God, I did this for you, so at least these people will come, and help me validate. And you came over to my house, and we sat on the floor. All my furniture was done and stuff like that. And you sat on the floor, and you told me, you're like, hey, that is not where you're supposed to be. And I remember, like, and you really went into detail about some things and stuff like that, and just reminding me about that you've seen what God was going to do, but I also needed to be patient. And that can be hard when you're trying to self-soothe yourself from not a God perspective, not from God, you know what I'm saying? Where you're trying to validate yourself from man, but still it be soothing from something else. And your message was so instrumental, because you brought attention to certain things and reminding me that I was going to be constricted had he allowed that. I was going to be, and I didn't even recognize that sometimes if you become a star in your hometown, and the Bible talks about Jesus was not respected in his hometown.
He was not.
They will hold you and confine you to limit you from things, when God is like, I want you to be worldwide. I want you to be touching things, right? But if I do this in your hometown, what will give you the confidence and the courage to move now? Because I've now made you hometown famous.
Well, it's deeper than that too. I think with the hometown famous, sometimes you have to compromise to keep those likes, keep those relationships. And sometimes there's politics that go into play that are not of God. We come from the same hometown. And even here in this space, I find myself very isolated. And that's just the way he wants me. When the Lord wants me to show up in the space to minister, I get calls. I'm called to do it. They'll call me, hey, what are you doing? I got something going on. God placed you on my heart. Are you available? And if it's God's will and I know it's him, I'll go. But I don't try to beg anybody for anything. I don't have to, because you know what? It's not about being seen. Sometimes it's the me, I that can get you in trouble and make you stressed too. Yeah. It's all about me. It's all about me, I. And so when you get away from all that, and you just get to a place of humility where you know that the ministry part of my life is not for me to gain. It is for me to give and pour out for the kingdom, period. And if they don't call me, they call everybody but me. God bless the people that are going forward. Let me pray for them that they are successful in their mission for God. The problem is in Tacoma, and I'm just going to say there's a lot of haters. It's so sad. The jealousy game here in Tacoma, Washington is real. I get more love in Seattle. I mean, Seattle. But not Tacoma. It's weird to me. And people that you grow up with that have known you, seen you minister your whole life, will look at you and not respect the anointing on your life, the call on your life. And it used to hurt me when I was younger. It used to really hurt me. I'm like, God, what is going on? Do they not know who I am? Like, me, you know, there's that ego, right, coming out. You better tell them, Lord. You better show them. I'm gonna need you to go before me and talk to these people, you know. And then it went from that to you ain't gotta tell nobody nothing. I don't want to go nowhere. You ain't sent me. God bless them. There's a reason why I'm not on people's hearts. I'm not in certain spaces. I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable, and I'm walking in humility. And humble is the way. When you are humble, God will put you in some spaces and places that you don't even deserve. Honestly, I can say I've been given opportunities I don't even think I deserve. And I just give him glory for that because I know now what I didn't know before is that it's not about me. That relieves stress. It's not about me. It ain't about Gina all the time, you know?
Yeah. No, you're so right. And even as you're saying I'm deserved, God's like checking me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. Because I think for me, and I'm glad you actually said that because the word deserve can get you in trouble.
It can.
Because you immediately think that all the work that you've done puts you in a place to be able to be where you think you're supposed to be, right?
Come on.
And God always tells us that whatever he has for us is larger than our imagination can even fathom.
Yes.
And so the fact that whatever you conjure up is like, okay, now he's like, and 100 times that's what I have for you, but you'll constrict yourself. You'll put yourself in there because of all these things that you've gained that you're like, here's where I am. And so when you say you get calls to places that you don't deserve, I think about how he doesn't call the equip, he equips the call. And so
come on, that should be on a shirt. I like
right?
that. Yeah.
When you get somewhere, I've been in places like this where you've been there, you get somewhere, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm about. I don't even know what to say. And God's like, I didn't ask you that. I just asked you to show up because whatever is going to come through you is my Holy Spirit.
That's right.
And so sometimes you can, like I said, you can get confined to the talents and the gifts and the things, the tools that you've built. And you're like, oh, I got this. I'll put this out on them, right? And God's like, you ain't even going to use that. Because I'm going to equip you with something that you're going to be like, oh, wow, you know, and stuff. And so even at, like you said, as you said that, it's me recognizing and reminding myself, like, stop confining yourself in places where you think this is going to move you a little bit closer to whatever you think you're going to get. And
wherever you think you're going to go, right?
Yeah.
You think you're going to a certain place, right? Yeah. And then every time I've always thought I was going to go here, God always took me the opposite way. So I learned to just stop trying to figure it out and just show up when he calls me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
You actually talked to me yesterday and then you called back and you prayed over me. And a lot of people don't do that for me. I'm constantly praying over people. I don't really have people that call me and say, can I pray for you? And so I was like really appreciative of that. And so this morning, God allowed me to let go of something.
Amen.
And I was like, wow, like I can fully let go of that thought of being, you know, famous or like, because it was just like, oh my God, right?
Get rid of it. Yes. Yes.
And I was like, God, have it.
Yes.
Here you go. Like,
yes,
this is it. But then also recognizing that, like you said, it's about serving.
It's about serving.
It's about serving.
Gosh. And it feels so good to serve.
It does.
And I used to chase fame too. I wanted to be one of the best gospel singers in the world. I wanted all these things. And now I just want to be in his divine will.
Yeah.
I know music has a part. And if I don't ever go anywhere, but where he wants me to go, I'm okay with that. As
Right.
long as I'm in his will. He is the star. He's the famous one. I don't
Yeah.
want the glory. It's too much responsibility for one. Okay.
Yes.
I don't want the glory. You can have it all, God. Just tell me who you want me to be. Tell me what you need from me. I surrender to you. I am yours. Do what you will with me. Because I know
Absolutely.
the benefits of surrendering to God. I've been seeing it in this season. I'm in a very unique season. We're in the season of quantum leaping, where I'm talking about having dynamic faith in him to the point where a journey would have taken you 10 years will take you 10 days, 10 minutes through faith.
Yeah.
That's the ability that we have right now as believers. We're tapped in. He's here. He's with us. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And what the problem is that we don't exercise our faith. We're not living for the divine will of God. We're living for our divine will and what we think we're supposed to be doing. Listen, I'm so sick of thinking about what I'm supposed to be doing. I let that go a long time ago. It's exhausting. Okay. I'm getting to know me every day through Christ. He's teaching me things about me all the time. I'm always getting corrected. And I'm very transparent about my little beatdowns. I keep it real because somebody else needs to know you ain't the only one out here in these streets growing
Yeah.
up in Jesus.
Yeah.
We're all trying to be better, right?
You're absolutely right. You're so right. And even as like I said, as you're even saying that, just
Mm-hmm.
I was telling God today, I was like, just what you just said. I don't want the glory. That's too much
Mm-hmm.
responsibility. I
Too
see what
much.
happens to those people.
Mm-mm.
Um, and I just want to do what you want me to do. I just want to give what you want me to give. I just want to be whoever you want me to be, and I want to do it according to your will, not mine. So I surrender that because sometimes you can surrender something and then take it back.
That's the thing. People are so fickle. You know, you can't trust people. People will change up on you real quick, right? But God, He never changes.
Right.
We are guaranteed consistency in Jesus.
You're absolutely right.
You
So my
know.
last question is
Mhm.
what are 3 to 5 things that you can share with our audience today about how they can self-soothe themselves? Because one thing we did not talk about was
Mm,
is even your amazing voice and how you used to sing to yourself when you were little because of
mhm,
the things like what's some things that you can give them to be like, this is what I think.
mhm. So I I will go there. So as a child, I was really chronically afraid of being alone in the dark. I used to be tormented. I was tormented a lot. The enemy used to torment me because he saw my future, right? And the reason why I became so good at writing and singing because I was afraid. I was really really scared. And so I would stay up singing and writing. Sometimes I'd have tears in my face writing songs as a child, afraid, right? And the first thing I want to say is don't get upset because you think that somebody else is further along than you in their healing process. Let that be inspiration for you. And here's the thing, never assume that that person who's smiling is perfect.
Yeah.
The devil's after all of us.
Right.
Okay? Let people have their peace without you being on the sidelines hating or jealous.
Yeah.
You understand? Because that holds you back. That will mess up your development looking at everybody else in anger and envy. And I remember growing up, I used to envy the children at my school and my cousins because they didn't have the same issues I had. I was tormented. I couldn't sleep at night. I was, I mean, until I became 18, 19, long
Wow.
time, very long time. And people don't know that about me. Only people, and I'm okay with talking about it now because somebody else may be getting tormented out there. So God is allowing me to release this story. And if you are being tormented, there is a healer. You
Ooh.
shall live and not die and declare the works of God. That torment caused me to be suicidal very early on. So I had to learn how to spend time with God to survive. My life depended on it, right? In that, I found the resources to self soothe through my faith and what He has said to me and about me through His word. The word of God is what released me from demons tormenting me and fear of the dark and fear of being alone and enemy. I used to be afraid of the devil.
Mm.
I was walking around afraid of him, and he was defeated all this time. All them years you took from me. I'm walking around here afraid of you when I had authority. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know who I was. Get to
Right.
know who you are. That's the third thing. Get to know what God says about you. That's going to help you. I'm
Yes.
a daughter of the King of Kings, the great I am, the Alpha, the Omega, Abba. So there is nothing good that he will withhold from me. He wants the best for you. Believe that too. Everybody, that I grew up with, we grew up in a time where we were always made to feel like God was angry. You know what I'm saying? Like, I lived in a lot of fear. I had fear for many years. I lived in fear for many years. And when I got to know him for myself, yeah, just like any parent would get mad when a kid commits sin or go out of the boundaries of the rules, right?
Right.
But it's a love angry when you mess up, right? And I had to understand his love, understand him from a loving place, get to know his love for you. There's nothing like it. When I think about how much he loves me, my mind can't comprehend it. It's so great. It's so beyond this body, right? The final thing that I want to say is forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Whatever you did, whatever you didn't do, forgive the people that hurt you, and you forgive those that you hurt, because we've all have hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Okay? All right? Let it go. Free yourself. Okay? Free yourself, because that right there will hold you back. And it'll keep you sinning too. It'll keep you committing the same treason against yourself and against God, because shame will keep you stagnant. Trust me. Okay? And that'll be like my final thing I want to say about that. And then just a side note is, I thank you for bringing me on the show to talk today. I do. I really do. Because before I got on here, me and my hair had a real fight. I watched it last night. I'm like, dang. And then I had to do my face real quick because I was looking really rough. I'm like, this is just it, God. Sometimes you just gotta show up and be who you are. It ain't about you. That's what came.
Right.
It ain't about you. But thank you for having me. This was very rich for me, and I got something from this. And I hope that the people that are watching benefit as well.
Absolutely. And thank you for being a guest. This season I wanted to change some things.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to up the level of thinking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it's powerful when your thoughts are provoked,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And it gets you from changing what you used to believe, because a lot of people have a problem with when they have to challenge their own belief system.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh
And
yes.
so this season was about changing that. It was about
Mm-hmm.
looking for women that were actually going to say things and be like, what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not that last season wasn't, but it was more of now me being more intentional about where I'm headed and what I'm doing, and
Mm,
knowing that God is in charge, but then God is saying, draw me out. Draw
mm,
me out of people, right?
yes. Yeah.
Because right now you have God in you, but it's hidden.
Mm,
And so if I
mm,
provoke your thinking, you'll go home and you'll think about, wait, God, was that you? Was
yeah.
that right? And
Yeah.
so, because a lot of times what the enemy does is he's cunning and he's trickery. And
Mm,
so he'll hide God in plain sight, where you'll be like,
mm,
you weren't there when I got molested, or you weren't there. And God was like, I was there the whole time, and not recognizing that while he was there, he was burying something in you that you were going to have to go find.
mm,
And
mm,
I think that's some of the difficult things for people, is looking inside yourself. I was reading this book, and this book told this story, and it said this guy was outside his house. He lost his key. So he's
mm-hmm,
looking all over for his key. And so he starts searching on the ground. He's searching everywhere. And then the story says he moves back towards the street light and is searching there, looking for the key. This neighbor comes and was like, hey, what are you looking for? He said, my key. So the neighbor gets on the ground and starts looking for the key. And so
mm,
the neighbor goes, where was the last place that you remember having it? And the guy said, in the house, but it's too dark in there.
mm,
And God was telling me, like, sometimes you'll darken the inside of you where you won't even go in there and look, because you don't think I'm in there, because I am light. I am
mm,
that. And
Mm.
so because you can be affected by other people's light.
That's right.
You'll go outside of yourself to get things and to look for things, even though if you check your memory, the true healing is inside self. And that's where I'll meet you.
Mm. Mm. The
And
truth
so,
shall set you free.
yes,
Word.
yes. And
Mhm.
so I really thank you for coming on here, because one of the things you also
Mhm.
said yesterday that was very intentional is how often are we asking people, do you want to invite Jesus in your life?
That was a big one. Yeah, that was something that hit me in January. God revealed to me, you did all that promoting for Gina A ministry, but not once did you say, do you want to serve God, or do you want to
Yeah,
accept Christ into your life? It was all about me, 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 me.
yeah,
So this year it's about Him. From this day forward, it's just all about Him. What you want me to do? You know.
yes. And
Hmm.
we're inviting anybody that's watching that. If you are inspired by us and you're like, man, I want to know that God that you keep talking about because he seems cool, because that's really what my relationship is like with him. He's the
Hmm.
homie, you
He
know.
really, really, really is. He's amazing. He is here. He is, I mean, he loves you. He will accept you for who you are. He don't tell your business. He don't gossip about you, and he's honest. Everything you need in a friend, that's who he is.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything.
And just to let people know, he's not someone that is trying, that like a lot of people go into this relationship and they like, okay, now I got to lay down everything. I can't even be who I am.
It's not true.
No, it's really about, if you hang around me or you, right?
Mm-mm.
I've noticed that people that hang around me more want to be like me more. I'm someone that walks around the neighborhood. I'm always saying hi to everybody. I'm hi. And
Mhm.
Brandon is like, God dang. I'm like, hi, 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 hey. And so a neighbor had seen this. So a couple weeks later, I see them walking, and the husband was like, Trinice out here telling everybody hi, acting like Tiffany. And it was like, you saw something in me
The light.
that you like,
Yes.
that you were like, oh my God, I want to
Mhm.
be, because it wasn't damaging. It brought light. It brought you a smile to your face. And that's how
Mhm.
God is. It's like anything that you are doing, you
Mhm.
can continue doing it. But the more you hang out with him, yes, you'll end up realizing that it's better to do it his way than your way.
Yes. And this just came in my head when you were talking, is we right now we live in a culture where everybody focuses so much on what we don't agree on and what everybody's differences are. And God is calling for us now to come together and focus on love and where
Right.
we can meet. What do we have in common, Tiffany? I know we can find differences. You already know that.
Right.
But what do we have in common? And that's where we need to build from as a people. Quit coming
Right.
together, arguing about this belief, that belief, who did this, that, and just say, hey, at the end of the day, I have to love you. Can we just
Yes.
let's just start there? Right?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's too much controversy with beliefs and ideas.
Right.
It's becoming a little bit much.
It girl. Absolutely. And it, like you just said, it's just a commonality. And if you can't think of anything, you like food, I like food. Let's
Come
eat.
on. Come on. The basics. Let's keep it basic. If I can
You
never
are
go deep with you, that's okay. You're just not the one I can do that with.
right.
You can't sit down and go deep with everybody. That's not, it's not even healthy.
You're
You
absolutely
know?
right. And I love that. So
Mhm.
tell everybody how they can find you, your music,
Sure.
any projects, and anything you're doing.
So I'm working on I just finished my second project. I don't know when I'm going to release it. I don't even know if I want to, honestly. I think I'm working on my third one in April. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Gina A Music. It's the picture that has my hand like this. I have two IG accounts. I can't figure out how to delete the other one. Okay. I'm still trying to figure that out. The one with my hand like this, that's the one that you want to accept. Doxology is the project I have out now. That's the one where Whistle in the Wind on. And then I have my two new songs from the new project, Abolitionists and Fall Like Rain. This new project, the rebuild that I finally finished. Oh, there's just so much. It's all about rebuilding my life, right? And so it's a good project. It'll be coming out probably this year, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It's just whenever God wants me to release it, I will. I just don't feel led to do it right now. I have a couple of videos that we shot for Fall Like Rain and Abolitionists that'll be coming out too. yeah, so and if you really want to hit me up, just Facebook Messenger me if you need prayer. People have been doing that, and it's fine for me. I'll pray with you if you need resources. Another artist reached out to me and asked me about marketing. I'm like, I haven't been consistent, but this is if I was consistent, this is what I would do. This is what I would do. I don't like people think that I'm actually walking around here because my pictures. Once one of my friends said, "Your pictures make you seem like you're super confident and arrogant." I'm like, but I'm not though. I don't
You're
like to be
not.
seen at all. I'm very laid back. I don't like
You're private.
posting pictures on myself. Everybody's telling me brand, brand, brand. But this year we're gonna change some things up. I just want things to be real for me. So you're gonna see a different side of me this year. I want people to get to know who I truly am. So
Absolutely. And what she didn't mention is she is on Apple Music. I
oh
believe.
yeah, Spotify. Yes. See, I suck at talking about myself. I'm just not good at that.
And you definitely need to download her music. It is amazing. Thank you so much for being on the show. Oops, excuse me.
Absolutely. I'm
Being
very
on the
proud of
show.
you. I'm very proud of you. I always tell you this, and I'm so happy for your ministry and what God is doing in your life. Like you are evolving in Jesus, and I love you, and you just keep doing this amazing kingdom work.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Everybody, it was a pleasure to have you. Bye.
Yes.
And
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you tune in to season 2 with Talking with Tiffany. This season we have a lot of impactful, powerful guests that are going to dive really deep into some of these words that we put self in front of. You know how I say every time you put the word self in front of a word, you minimize the word in front of it. But these people are actually doing these words wholeheartedly. So check out season 2, press subscribe, like it, and share please. Enjoy your week.